What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's get a little spicy. So, I needed to do a spicy corner for Real Housewives of Orange County because the girls have been talking and it's a lot, and I knew I couldn't fit it in a review video. So, here we are. So, let's get into it. So, first up, let's talk about Heather. So, on the night of the episode that premiered on Thursday, Heather was one of the guests on Watch What Happens Live. And there was two questions that I saw online that I found interesting. So, a lot of people keep bringing up Shannon recording Kelly Dodd. And we have Heather being asked, like, what's the difference between what Katie did and what Shannon did? And I thought her response was interesting. So, let me play that for you.
WDW Lovin' Ma on Twitter said, do you think this whole Katie recording Shannon thing is hypocritical when Kelly Dodd was recorded in Ireland? Explain why she was.
You know what? Shannon said it really well. I saw her here sitting in this very chair. You know, at that time, we didn't have producers with us all the time. And they told us, especially that night, they said, if anything happens, please pick up your phone and film it. So now we have producer cams and producers with us.
And I'm assuming when Kelly was being filmed, she knew she was being filmed?
But there was no hidden camera. It was right there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm glad Heather cleared that up because, like I've been saying, it's not the same thing. Like, they all knew that the cameras were there. They saw the phones, and it was told to them if anything were to go down, y'all film. So to me, that was their way of consenting to it because they agreed to be filmed at any moment in time if something went down while they were in Ireland. So what Shannon did to Kelly is not the same thing that Katie did. Katie recorded the lady without her consent and she shared it with her husband. So the next question that Heather was asked was about Gina. It was pretty much an update, okay? So when Gina was on Watch What Happens Live last time, she basically tried to implicate Heather into the situation that happened between Emily and Katie at the reunion. And Heather wanted to clear that up, so here's her response.
Jasmine02 said, please ask Heather about Gina's last appearance on Watch What Happens Live, where she said you were the one who researched and dug up the stuff on Katie and her kids and then brought it to Emily to bring it up at the reunion.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Let's be clear. I have never researched anyone. That is not my thing. I don't dig up things on people. There were a lot of stories that had come out about Katie between the end of filming and the reunion. Just a lot of articles, OK Magazine, Page 6, all the things. We were all sending them to each other. So that just happens to be the one I sent to Emily. It's not any more salacious than that. Trust me, when things come out about us, they all pass them around. I'm not mad at it. I get it.
So I'm glad my opinion about that situation was right because I thought it was weird that Gina was trying to implicate Heather in that situation that happened between Katie and Emily at the reunion. I've always thought that Gina and Emily were never really Heather's friends because they always have something shady or snarky to say about her. And for Gina to try to throw Heather under the bus is weird to me when they don't have any beef. And I do believe Heather when she says, like, when there's articles about all of them, everybody reads them and they shop them around. And to be honest, like I said, when I initially talked about this situation, all those stories about Katie were coming out from like Page 6, US Weekly, In Touch. Is it In Touch Weekly or something? There were so many publications and blog pages talking about Katie and her situations that like Heather did not have to go digging, and adding that extra component of like, oh, she was digging for that information, I do believe makes it seem more sinister than like, girl, these stories are popping up about Katie and we saw them and we passed them around. So since we're talking about Gina, let's get into these two clips I saw. One, she did an interview with The Decider, and then she also did an interview with Virtual Reality T with Page 6. Now, when she did her interview with The Decider, the interviewer basically asked her, how does she feel about the fans rallying behind Katie?
Well, I want to get into everything going on this season because the fans have really been rallying around Katie. Did that surprise you at all? And is there something you think that maybe everyone's missing?
Well, I think it will become more clear. I think it's really difficult for the fans to see things that aren't there. So I think it's really difficult for them to understand the things that were happening off camera, right? We do our best to try to explain that. That's number one. I think number two, things will become more clear as time goes on. But also, I'm gonna be honest, like I'm questioning this whole idea that all of the fans are rallying there because I see some of it, but I certainly don't see all of that. First of all, on the show, nobody has a problem with Katie anymore. Like as soon as she apologized for the things that she had done to me from the previous year, I immediately moved on, and on good grounds with her. And I feel like most of the women are, except for Shannon, obviously, you know. And I understand it. I think that Shannon, in that particular instance, she was, I think she's even said this, maybe even to you, that she feels that maybe she overreacted a bit. She was giving the emotion for that circumstance based on where she was emotionally at the time that it all happened. And I think a little bit of it was displaced.
I am not going to let you rile me up.
I'll let the ladies handle it.
This girl, worse than Alexis Bellino, worse than Tamra Judge. Let's go. We're done.
So, I mean, certainly Shannon doesn't think that Katie is worse than Alexis. Let's be real, okay?
So this is interesting to me because I feel like Gina is now singing a different tune, because in the beginning, when she did her first initial round of interviews, she was telling them people, I don't know if I want to come back, or I would have to think really hard about returning back to this show if Katie was a part. To now, it's like she all right. And honestly, we all moved on after she apologized for what she did. Shannon seems to be the only one that hasn't let it go. And I will say, them being in New Orleans, everyone seems to still be wanting to be around Katie. It does seem like Shannon is the only one really harping on this situation. Um, but I will say, they do notice the fans, even though Gina is saying, are those people really supporting Katie? Like, are the fans really supporting? Yeah, there are some people that are like not really supporting Katie because they like her, but they like the fact that she is going up against Tamra and she is also fighting with Shannon. But there are people that do genuinely like Katie. So I don't know how many of that is like real fans, but that does help Katie in the long run for probably being asked back for season 20. And it seems like she is in a better headspace of wanting to be a part of that situation or coming back next season because she has so much support from the fan base. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last, Katie, but use it to your advantage. So the next clip I want to play for you guys is Gina doing an interview with Page Six.
Katie, I do not wish Katie anything bad. You know, I hope she thrives in her life. But like the unfortunate part is that like I just don't see how I could have a real, true, authentic, trusting relationship with her. And so that's where I am at with it.
What would be different about potentially rebuilding a friendship with her versus the way you've been able to rebuild with Shannon?
I guess the difference is too, I like to place things where they're at. When Shannon made those comments about my children,
right?
That was not great. That obviously was like, I was pissed about it. But the thing that really made it okay for me was, number one, she was not in her right state of mind when she said it, right? Which is not an excuse, but it's a reality of what happened there.
Right, it's a fact.
And number two, I was not on good ground with Shannon until she hit that house, and then it gave her perspective. And then she from that moment, I'm telling you, she was a completely different person towards me, a person who came in with empathy, a person who came in with perspective. She found personal growth from that mistake that she made, and she wholeheartedly apologized and felt total remorse. You know, I mean, I have caught some of the interviews and the things, and I mean, I haven't really seen any of that from Katie. You know, I haven't seen any accountability.
So here's the thing, and I wanted to talk about this clip, and it was mainly because of the comments, because I felt like a lot of people are being obtuse when it comes to this situation with Katie, and I get it that a lot of people like her, but it's like, don't stop thinking, okay? Of course, it makes sense why Gina was able to move forward with Shannon, and right now she's in a stalemate with Katie. At the end of the day, Shannon did what a lot of people like want others to do when they apologize. You apologize and then you show changed behavior. And Gina has seen that in Shannon. She's seen Shannon be remorseful, whereas Katie has done interviews and has not been that remorseful. But I also understand where Katie's coming from, where she's on this cast full of women, and majority of the cast does not see it for her. They feel like she's a liar and she's not in a good place with them. So having a lot of the fan base praise her probably makes her feel empowered and emboldened to not be remorseful or not be very apologetic for what she has done. But I think there's also a part of Katie that does feel bad for what she's done, because you can tell when she gets caught in a lie or she finds out that she hurt somebody, she lies first, but then she immediately is like, dang, you know what? I did do that. My bad. Can we please move forward? Is because it does seem like she wants to have a relationship with these women and she wants to move forward. And I do think they'll be able to do so, especially if these women realize that they're not getting rid of Katie. It's just that Katie has to be honest and stop messing around with bloggers, because that's what's really doing her in, because a lot of the bloggers are coming out and speaking out against her and she's making enemies. So speaking of Shannon, let's get into this Jeff Lewis podcast. So she was on with Reza, and pretty much a person called in to basically tell Shannon how they felt about this season and the way the women are reacting to Katie. So it says this: a caller on Jeff Lewis Live told Shannon that his biggest issue with the season is how the cast is holding Katie to a completely different standard than the other housewives. He pointed out that they keep holding her feet to the fire and won't let go, even though other housewives have done far worse. The caller also suggests it feels like the women are trying to ice Katie out. The summary continues where it says Shannon responded by saying the bottom line is there is barely any truth with Katie, and that as viewers watch the season unfold, it will all make more sense. She also noted that in California, it is illegal to record people without their knowledge. So let me play that clip for you guys.
Issue with the OC this year is the fact that you guys are holding Katie so far up to the fire for some things. And I'm not saying what she did was wrong. I'm just saying that it's just being pummeled to death, like into the ground so much, when other cast members have done so much worse in the past. And this thing about talking to bloggers, I mean, Tamra's a blogger and she's on the show. So it doesn't like, I don't understand how, like, the litmus test of when you let things go and when you pummel it to the ground. It seems like the whole crew's just trying to ice her out.
You know what? I think that I understand why you're saying these things, but as the show moves forward, I think that you'll be able to understand, the things that were done. It's just the bottom line is nothing. There's just barely any truth.
And trust
with Katie. And, I understand what you're saying about, other people get passes but Katie did a lot of bad things. And the bottom line is you're not allowed to record anybody in California without their knowledge. And she did that.
Okay, but for you to say, and I'm curious about this. Do you still believe, because you had stated that what she did was worse than Alexis?
No, and then I recanted it right after.
Okay, good.
And I said, well, it's equal.
That's the
I don't even know if
fire
it's
sign.
equal.
You guys, that's the fire
I
sign
don't even
in
know if it's
her.
equal.
Mine is nothing.
In the moment,
you
that's
guys-
how you felt.
You can't compare that.
I don't want to get into it. I'll deal with it at the reunion. But basically, everything that Katie has said about this quote day where I was recorded, none of it's accurate, and it'll come out.
So thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate your call.
So here's the thing. I get what the caller is saying. What Katie did was not the most egregious thing in like housewife history, or let alone on this show, okay? But to me, it was still an invasion of privacy. And if I had to score it with 10 being like, girl, you need to be locked up, I never want to see you on my TV screen again, like fade into obscurity. So to the point where I forget about you, and level 1 being like, that's petty. That's Housewives 101. I would give what Katie did to Shannon a solid 7. And the reason why I say that is, one, Katie recorded Shannon without her consent. And what made it worse is that you showed Alexis. Yeah, like you showed her. If Katie would have never showed Alexis and would have just, played the recording for her husband like she keeps claiming she did, but yet you got multiple people saying, girl, I heard it and this is when you played it for me. I don't think it would be that bad. I would probably bump it down to a level 6 because you still recorded somebody without their knowledge. But it's the fact that you showed this person that Shannon was in a serious legal battle with fiance. Like, it would have been bumped up to like a level 8 if John would have used that information against Shannon and got more money. All right. But it's not the most horrible thing that has ever happened on Real Housewives of Orange County. So I get why a lot of people are perturbed and annoyed by the way that some of the women are behaving, and more specifically Shannon. But this is typical Shannon, if you ask me. When it comes to Shannon saying that more will be revealed and people will understand by the time we get to the end of the season, I'm interested to see like what else there is. But what I am more interested in is the fallout between Jen, Gretchen, and Katie. Because watching episode 6 and seeing the way that Jen did not believe a word that Tamra said, and she had Katie's back, and the way that she was able to get Gretchen to be like, girl, do you really believe this? And they were able to band together as a trio. I'm trying to understand, what did Katie do to make both of them like take a step back from her? Like, was it something crazy, or did she lie on them, or did she lie about something and they got embarrassed because they were defending her and they felt stupid? I just want to know what caused them to distance themselves from Katie. So the next clip I want to play is still the Jeff Lewis podcast, but more so an update. So I read this in one of my spicy corners where there was an article that came out that suggested that Shannon was difficult to work with. And so this is what was posted. It says Shannon addresses the rumors that she mistreated the crew on the night of Heather Dubrow's birthday, denying it ever happened. When Jeff Lewis asked if she thought the story was planned, she said yes. She explained that after her confrontation with Katie, she was actually having fun and spent the rest of the night dancing, not upset or mistreating anyone. So let me play that clip for you guys.
2 months later,
Mm-hmm.
that was clearly put together by production. That you actually were
Oh, that I had to be subdued
you had to be
after
subdued, and that you were mistreating the staff,
No.
and
that I was mistreating the crew that I
Throwing chairs,
that I cook
doing things.
dinner for. It's hard. I was dancing right after
so that was a
my
planted
conversation.
story.
Yes, and it's really frustrating when stuff like that comes out, because of course you want to defend yourself, but at the same time I don't want to give it life. I was dancing right after my conversation with Katie and having fun.
You understand, like, as a viewer, we watched you get very upset and angry at Katie. So the story, it's there are manipulative, because it's somewhat, as a listener,
Yeah.
I mean, as a viewer, it could be believable. Like, oh, she was so upset, and
I get it. Look,
yeah.
I'm false stories are written about me, and I read stories about other people, and I assume it's true. Like, it's just natural to think that. I mean, yeah, I was upset, but I mean, on a scale, I've watched a lot of fights on different Bravo shows, and I mean, I wasn't that upset.
But you and I spoke about it, and you said, yeah, I was very upset in the moment, but you let it go. You had fun.
Went and got another grilled cheese.
So this is interesting to me, and this is more so, like I said, an update of that story, because on one hand, I do agree with Jeff Lewis. Like, we saw how upset Shannon was, and this isn't the first time a story has been out there about her mistreating staff. So it is something that's easily believable, but I can also believe Shannon because they do give us footage of her having a good time dancing and eating. So it's like, was it a story that was planted to make her look bad, or did it really happen? I mean, I could see both outcomes being plausible, but I just wanted to give y'all an update since she responded to that article. So before we get into the Tamra of it all, I want to talk about Kiki Monique, since she was referenced in episode 6 of this season. So basically, if you have not watched the episode, Kiki Monique allegedly told, I guess, two other people, are basically, Tamra is telling the women that she has two people contact her and tell her that Katie talked to Kiki Monique and told her that Gretchen told her that Tamra tried to roofie her. So that caused a big commotion on the episode. It also caused Tamra to have a meltdown and baby, okay? So Kiki Monique wanted to respond to this. So this was posted before the episode, I think, aired, but it says this: Kiki Monique responds to Katie Janela and says she has the screenshots to back up what she's saying. Now, Kiki does a podcast with Dorinda from Real Housewives of New York, so you will also hear her voice in the clip as well. So let me play it for you.
The part that Vin sent me, the whole trusted people I should, because I just want to, I want to let you know, because again, I have screenshots and I'll pull them out later, but let me just say, when anyone is announced as a new housewife, I go and follow the new housewife because I'm like, oh, who are they following? So when Katie Janela, who I'd never heard of before she was announced as a housewife, I went and said, looked her up, followed her, it said follow back. So that meant she was already following me. So all I'm saying is you followed me before I followed you. Just saying. And then I get a message, I am honored. So all I'm saying is you were a fan of mine before I was supposedly a fan of yours and I was looking for clout. And here's the other thing, Dorinda. She's making it seem as if I'm doing this because I need the clout. And like, I'm just going to say, Dorinda, I host a show with one of the most iconic housewives in fucking history, okay? And if I wanted to have clout, trust me, I'm going to use other people than Katie Janela from second season OC. And that's all I'm going to say about it for now.
And let me just say this. First of all, news travels fast. I always say. Second of all, I don't think she's coming back next year, so who cares? It's kind of like one of those things, you know, we've already decided not to use that hamburger meat anymore. Goodbye. It's been in the freezer too long.
Goodbye.
So here's the thing. A lot of people were trying to take this as, you know, Kiki Monique confirming what Tamra was saying. But when I listened to it, I feel as though Kiki was responding to what Katie said in the confessional. And I think that was on episode 3, because that is when Katie had that sit down with Heather and Gina after Heather's birthday party. And Heather basically told Katie, well, you know, Tamra has told me that you have been spreading rumors around to different bloggers. And that's when Katie said she met up with Kiki Monique and she was just like, you know, I like her. And she basically said it was nothing sinister or anything crazy going on. But then when Katie was in her confessional and producers end up asking her, why would people say these things about you? That's when Katie made the statement that Kiki is referring to, where she was like, I trusted people that I shouldn't. And I totally understand why Kiki Monique would be frustrated or be offended by Katie's statement, especially if Katie was already following her. And then if she actually does have screenshots of Katie saying she's honored when the lady followed her back, I would be like, girl, don't ever try to make it seem like I saw you out or I was trying to get clout off your name. Like, you're not that important. But I don't know if I would come out and say anything. But then I'm also like, well, that situation isn't like about me. It's similar to what the Bravo babe did, where she came out and posted her screenshots and actually had interviews on different, like, you know, blog pages or publications and things of that nature, is because she felt some type of way and she was offended by Katie saying that she was lying. And I think Katie has to be careful with constantly saying that these bloggers are lying and they have proof that she's the one lying. Now, I'm not saying every blogger has integrity or every content creator is being honest or things of that nature, but to constantly say that these people are lying and they have proof that you are lying will leave a bad taste in certain people's mouths. And then eventually people will stop wanting to either commune with you or posting you. Because I think that sometimes some of these new housewives forget the ecosystem that they're in. Because to me, the Bravo universe or the Bravo sphere is an ecosystem. You have the reality stars, aka the housewives. Then you have the fans who dictate whether they like you or not, whether people want to see you, whether you get brand deals, promotions, and based off of your popularity, whether or not the show continues on. Then you have bloggers who keep your name in rotation and you on people's news feeds. Because I use myself as an example. I don't follow any of the housewives, but I do follow a lot of blog pages. And then you have content creators like myself who talk about the show and sometimes get people interested in watching the show. Isolating one part of that ecosystem will do a disservice to yourself because you will not always be the fan favorite. And eventually, these blogs will stop wanting to post you if you are more of a hassle than a benefit to them. So I get Katie's initial gut reaction is to say these people are lying. But girl, if you know they have proof that you were the one lying, then just fall on the sword and then apologize for it. Just take the L. So let's get into Tamra. So after the episode aired, Tamra took to her Insta story and started posting a bunch of things. So she posted this one graphic made by a page called Mr. _psychologist. And it says, people don't fake depression. They fake being okay. Remember that. Be kind with people around you. So the next slide she posted in her Instagram was a screenshot of a DM that she got from a fan. And it says this: no, as a fan here. I think the person meant to say not as a fan here, but they say no as a fan here, just as a human here. You're way too good for this. I love watching you and completely love what you bring. But tonight I was brokenhearted for you. In that time, I couldn't imagine the pain and all the emotions you had within you. To see you and feel like no one fully had your back, maybe Heather, or even just a heart for the time you were living, it was heartbreaking. I mean, to think that this time frame was, I feel like no one has had any empathy in any way. They just try to say it's another Tamra excuse. I mean, come on. So then Tamara wrote beside it, thank you for all the kind words you sent. And then she put in parentheses like this: I have not watched the episode. It was a painful time I didn't want to relive. Emotionally, I hit a wall with everything I was dealing with. I was taking Xanax to deal with the pain and mixing it with alcohol. Thank you at Heather Dubrow. I am sorry the way I responded to you. I love you very much. So Gina wasn't far off. She said Tamara was mixing pills and alcohol, and Tamara just confirmed that she was. So it continues on where Tamara posts another screenshot of, I guess, a fan that was supporting her. And they said this: it says, imagine filming a reality show that to its core is volatile and full of division while dealing with a loved one who is fighting cancer. At Tamra Judge, your strength showed tonight, even though certain people didn't show you empathy. Please know your supporters did. Hashtag RHOC. So this is a thing with the Tamra fans. Y'all have to understand that granted, Tamra is dealing with a lot. That's why I don't think her emotions about Teddy are fake. I do think she genuinely cares and loves Teddy. And it probably is scary to think that one day you'll get the phone call that your best friend is dead. Like, I'm not going to negate that that's real. But the thing that I need Tamra supporters and fans to realize is Tamra has not been kind to people when they have been going through similar situations, if not worse. Slade lost his son. What's her name? Gretchen lost her fiance, and it seems like Tamara had no compassion or no care about the way that those people were dealing with those deaths. On top of that, I understand why Jen is very hesitant to like give compassion or be empathetic or kind towards Tamara, because at every turn Tamara takes the opportunity to dig and pick at Jen, but then she wants to throw it in people's face. Well, I'm in therapy and my friend is dying. And it's like, you're in therapy. Your friend is dying, but you still exhibit the same behavior. So if there's no change behavior, then people aren't going to give you grace. People aren't going to care about what you're going through because everybody's going through something. Okay. So Gretchen decided to respond to Tamra because she also posted this in her Insta story. God forbid you guys ever have to deal with the pain and depression I was dealing with. They wonder why I left. Maybe I should have gotten a DUI to feel compassion. So Gretchen responded to this and she said this: "Yes, Tamra, I have actually dealt with the pain and depression you are talking about, and it was horrible. Remember, my fiance actually died, and Slade's son actually died from cancer. But you had not 1 ounce of grace for us. Instead, you spun lies about Jeff and I and plotted with the guy who I took to court and now have 7 counts against over $1 million judgment against to cause me pain and suffering during that time. And then you went on your podcast and made false statements about Slade and I after his son died and spun lies about us again, with no remorse for your actions, only excuses like you always. You never give us grace, and you never gave your bestie Shannon grace when she was going through the worst time in her life. Instead, you buddied up to Alexis and called Shannon every name in the book last year, and then blamed your bad behavior on being on the spectrum. So yeah, this is pretty rich coming from you and rubs me the wrong way." It continues on with her saying, "And this is the sort of list, BTW." Then she puts hashtag always the victim, hashtag never takes accountability, hashtag cancer sucks, hashtag pain, hashtag depression, hashtag heartache, hashtag RHOC, hashtag housewives. So like I said, to people who are supporting Tamra and are frustrated and upset with the women not giving Tamra grace, then y'all should be the same way when Tamra didn't give Slade or Gretchen grace when they lost people in their lives. I'm not going to fault Gretchen or Jen for not wanting to have a relationship with Tamra or not believing the pain that she's going through because of the pain that she caused them. So Tamra saw this and she responded to it, okay? She said this: "How cute. She thinks I care about her compassion. I want nothing from you. My post was not referring to you, you MAGA liar." Ooh. I did not read that part. Not you MAGA liar. So I guess Tamara is letting it be known, girl, I don't support MAGA. But your weirdo son does, and this does feel kind of like a dog whistle. Okay. I said this before and I'll say it again. I'm not really interested in seeing Gretchen versus Tamra, unless it's something new added to the plot. But I will say is I don't think they're getting rid of Gretchen and I don't think they're getting rid of Tamra anytime soon. But I am interested to see what it's going to be like at the reunion, because it definitely feels like they did not come to any resolution throughout the season and they still hate each other. Okay. But that's all I got for you guys. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below, subscribe, and like the video, guys. And be on the lookout for my review for Real Housewives of Orange County Season 19, Episode 6. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.